Welcome back, and we are moving into our final conversation for today. We have with us meteorologist Tench, and we are talking about today's solar eclipse. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Marlene. Good morning, and Isani. Good morning.
So, obviously, I think people who have been very distracted with Harvey perhaps have not realized that there is a very big event happening today, and that is the solar eclipse. I want to give you the opportunity. You said you've been following it, and one of the have is, will we be able to see the eclipse from Belize?
Yeah, that's a very good question, bearing in mind the current weather conditions. It looks likely that we could have some clearing skies in some parts of the country during today. So if you have some reasonable amount of clear skies, roughly between 11 and 2 o'clock this afternoon, there's a good chance you would see some effects of the solar eclipse. In Belize, we are not going to experience the total eclipse as it's going to be experienced in the United States. We're going to experience a partial eclipse. So skies won't get dark as you'd have in the United States. Nevertheless, there would be a diminishing of the bright sunshine if you have bright sunshine. And some of the effects associated with a partial eclipse would still be evident, such as animals behaving erratically, roosters trying to fall asleep, and birds trying to look for cover, thinking it's nighttime falling. So
now I appreciate you. Part of the buzz that we've been seeing about the eclipses, particularly because the United States, it is actually passing completely over the United States, so they'll have a very good view.
Right.
But let's talk in general about eclipses themselves and how frequently we see them. I can remember as a child, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it was a partial eclipse, but I think I remember a total eclipse once, because I just remember the warning as I left home. My mother said, do not look up at the sky during the eclipse. And that's still something we know to be true now, but people aren't always aware of it.
Right. And this is one reason why it's very important to talk about the effects or the
you got the same warning, didn't you?
Yeah, but I'm sorry. I'm weighing my mind whether or not that was just myth over something that is true.
Well, that's what he'll tell us.
It's a very pertinent warning. On an ordinary day, almost foolhardy to look at the bright sunshine. It momentarily blinds you, and it's even more dangerous in the event of an eclipse, because you're exposing your eyes to the ultraviolet and infrared radiation, which can damage your retina permanently. And there's always that warning when they talk about eclipses. For no reason or another, try to look at the sun, where the eclipse is occurring for any length of time. It is a very serious issue, especially in the parts of the United States where they'll have totality. When totality occurs, yes, you can look at the sun, but in the process leading up to totality and after totality, it's very unwise to look directly at the sun.
So when there's total darkness, you can look.
In Belize, we'll have the partial eclipse, so the warning is even more pertinent. The eyes are going to be exposed to the ultraviolet and infrared radiation, which can damage your retina.
Let's go back to the question that Marlene asked earlier. How frequent are solar eclipses?
Eclipses occur roughly every 18 months to every 2 years in any part of the world. The problem is that many times when these eclipses occur, they occur over parts of the oceans or inhospitable areas of the world, like the desert lands, the Sahara, and areas where people don't live. So at any given point in time, say roughly between every 18 months to every 2 years, an eclipse isn't occurring. But an eclipse like this one is particularly noteworthy because it's moving across the umbra, as they call it, moves across a populated parts of the world. United States is making a big deal about it. In fact, for several years now, they've been building up to it. And if you watch the news items, people are actually going chasing the umbra across the parts of the United States. It's almost like preparing for a disaster. Then the thousands of people who are moving to observe it.
So. They're even telling people how far away it is from them so they can travel to see it. Yeah. Now, when was the last time Belize had a total eclipse?
I don't remember when we probably had a partial eclipse in 1990. It moved across Hawaii and then parts of Mexico. Then I can remember another one in 1970. That was a partial eclipse also for Belize. It moved across Mexico and then up along the United States East Coast. I have a very relevant article in the National Geographic from 1970. I was a schoolboy then, and I quite remember it. We didn't have TV then, so all the information came through on radio about how to prepare for the eclipse.
So even in the case of a partial eclipse, which we may be able to see today, you shouldn't look at it. But what times should we be expecting this to take place?
The eclipse would start to be evident in Belize roughly around 11:29 in the morning, reaches its maximum, not totality, but reaches its maximum roughly about 12:04, and it should end entirely sometime after 2 o'clock.
Wow. It's a long process.
Yeah, it takes about an hour and 30 to 40 minutes for completion from the time when the moon starts to bite out the sun, so to speak, to when it moves across and comes through. Yeah. I was able to get some times for different parts of the country.
Yes.
San Ignacio would probably start to experience the effects around 11:29, which is roughly when it's going to start for Belize in general. Belize City and Dangriga would experience it roughly about 11:33 this morning. Orange Walk about 11:28. Belmopan 11:32 this morning, and Corazon 11:28. So it seems like places on the border areas would probably experience it before the other major cities.
How dark is it going to be? I mean, what type of coverage are we looking at from Belize's perspective?
The estimates range anywhere between 37 to 47% coverage of the sun when we experience the maximum of the partial eclipse.
Okay. Yeah. So about half coverage maximum.
A little less than half.
Okay. So we wouldn't expect any extreme darkness to take place.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I was gonna ask that because, as you pointed out earlier, total eclipse can actually have an impact other life sources, and that's key because we kind of have a natural circadian rhythm, darkness and light reactions. Would we see any kind of strange behavior from animals, anything like that in this part?
Yeah, because they will, like roosters would probably think it's nightfall is setting and they probably start to close their eyes, sort of that sort of sensation, or maybe start crowing. Then birds, again, would think it's getting dark and you see them start to scurrying about, like heading for home.
Oh, cool.
Insects, just behave erratically, and I don't know about other animals what they do, but animal behavior.
So no human can blame any strange behavior today on the eclipse.
Well, it's not out of the question. Humans behave erratically under normal circumstances, so nothing strange if you find humans starting to react uncharacteristically.
Let's go to obviously one of the other things we know is that the moon has a very significant effect on our weather patterns, or just with Harvey out there. One of the things people were wondering is how does the eclipse affect Harvey and its development, or the remnants of Harvey, I should say.
No. The relationship between celestial bodies and the weather is very minimal or limited. We can actually tell when an eclipse is going to occur because we know the motions of the heavenly bodies, the earth, the moon, the sun. And scientists have been able to even plot possibly eclipses right up for the next 20, 30 years because of the motions of these bodies.
Yeah.
These bodies move within well-defined orbits. The forces reacting on them can be calculated years in advance. It's like tide tables.
Yeah.
Tide tables are based on knowing the forces between the Earth and the Moon, and so they can prepare tide tables several years in advance. With weather, it's less reliable.
Yeah.
Unpredictable.
Unpredictable. I mean, even at 24-hour forecast has a degree of unreliability in it. And the issues with climate change, for instance, that's a whole nother area. But I mean, you're making projections 20, 30 years down the road. I mean, the scenarios are pretty believable, but how much of an effect they were going to have on the world is still questionable.
So we don't have to be concerned that the eclipse will have any effect on the remnants of Harvey.
No.
Now, can we ask you in terms of what you've been seeing with the remnants of Harvey? We still hear that there is the potential for development before the fall. I believe up until the end of yesterday it was 50% chance. What does it look like based on what you're seeing this morning?
I think that statement is being issued mainly because conditions are still there for some minimal development before the storm makes landfall, either on the coast of northern Belize or Yucatan. So the conditions are there.
Yeah.
That's a fact. The conditions are there for some minimal development, and you want to be prepared for that possibility. But it's not been doing its. We still have a window of opportunity for some minimal development. What seems pretty obvious is we're going to get quite a bit of rain from it, especially for northern and coastal parts of Belize. Quite a bit of rain will come when the remnants of Harvey cross land late tonight.
Now, I know as meteorologists, it's often very difficult when storms come around because people have their own opinions as to when there's a particular forecast made as to whether a storm will make landfall, not make landfall, and what. And the challenging predicament is that you must really look at worst case scenario so that people can be prepared. You hope for the best, but you prepare for the worst. Looking at what we may potentially see in terms of the amount of rainfall, even wind strands may come with the system. What are we looking at?
Okay, the projections for rainfall, as I see it, range between 2 to 4 inches later tonight into tomorrow for northern Belize. And the rest of the day amounts could range between 1 to 3 inches at most.
Okay.
In terms of wind speeds, it's probably packing winds between 20 to 35 miles per hour as it is. And if it develops further, we could probably get wind speeds, say between 30 to 5 miles per hour if it intensifies further. That's still a minimal tropical storm. And it's still just been called an area of disturbed area of low pressure right now. So and it still has some body of water to cross before those changes occur.
All right. So given the fact that this system is about to make its way past us, for some areas it may be too cloudy for them to see the eclipse.
That's right. So this, all that I've said is all dependent on what is today. My hope is that and it looks like skies are going to clear up sufficiently during this morning because we don't really expect the bulk of the weather until this evening. So there should be some clearing during the course of this morning, which is high time, almost noontime. So it should be
a drier portion of the day, hopefully.
Yeah.
Now, any recommendations to people as to how to view the eclipse?
Okay. Like I said, try not to look directly at the sun during the eclipse. But if you need to, if you want to look at it, get hold of certified what they call solar glasses. I don't think they're very much available here, but in the United States, I noticed they've been promoting them a lot. If you can get a hold of those type of glasses, you could look directly. Those glasses are specially coated to resist the ultraviolet radiation. Another recommendation would be if you could get hold of these welders' helmets or goggles. Those are very good for looking at the sun directly because they're coated with a material that again resists the infrared and ultraviolet radiation. There's another cheap and very simple method you could use is to get 2 pieces of cardboard. And one cardboard you perforate a hole about little less than the diameter of a pencil, but make sure the hole is perforated perfectly, no jagged edges around that hole. And you stand with your back to the sun, you hold the cardboard piece with the hole facing the sun, and then let the rays of the sun focus on the other piece of cardboard, and it will create an image of the sun, and you could actually see when the moon is biting out the sun once you have it focused properly. It's been a method that's been used for hundreds of years, and children are
In fact, they say you can use your cereal box as one of the...
That's right.
It's a great experiment if you're home with the kids today to be able to try.
And if you have your cameras fitted with the proper lenses, you could actually point the camera at the sun and then look at the image on your monitor. I mean, you guys have cameras, so you can probably do that. And then you could watch the image on your monitor and not risk your eyes.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to share with us?
Well, it's pretty like, I guess it's like fortune we have 2 events happening at once. We have a
Which one
meteorological
do you pay
event.
attention to first?
I prefer the meteorological event, although the astronomical event will depend on how the meteorological event plays out during this morning. Hopefully we get clear enough skies to see, because an eclipse is not a very common thing, and I found out that the next eclipse that will be visible in Belize will not occur until the year 2023, October 14th. So that's about, 6 years from now. And then the United States, they prepared for the next solar eclipse, total one, which is going to be in the year 2024. So this is should be quite an event if the weather cooperates.
Right. Well, thank you for stopping in and having this conversation with us today.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
We're going to go ahead and break now, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap up. So stay tuned.